everybody and welcome to the CEM homework review video for Block 3, Week 4. This is non-verbal reasoning that we're looking through first, and I'm Luke Lloyd. Let's get straight into it. So the homework we'll be addressing today is using the handout booklet, and it is telling you to complete the worksheets for Week 4. And these are on matrices and sequences, or I believe in the order is sequences, then matrices. So this is the booklet we'll be looking through. And I realise the page numbers in here are slightly difficult in that we've selected pages that fit our needs from the book. So I'd rather worry about the page number, simply keep going until you find the big old symbol that says week number 4. And that's how you know you're in the right area for the homework. Now, I'm going to jump in straight away because I know we've covered a fair few bits about the course to the quick answers. But before I do, let me just quickly recap for both matrices and sequences the general key hints, key tips. We want to use elimination really to sort of fuel our search of many of the answers. The way we're going to find out what to eliminate is by focusing on one Spanseros feature at a time. Obviously, Spanseros is our acronym for shape, position, angle, number, size, symmetry, rotation, overlap, shading, all the wonderful features. But we're looking for one thing at a time in both cases, and then predicting where it should be. So perhaps we've noticed that the position of something is moving, or the size is increasing, or the number of sides is decreasing. We're focusing on one feature. We're perhaps, if we want to, if we think it would help, sketching out that feature in the missing space, and then we're eliminating answers that don't conform to that until eventually we end up with just one answer. And that's the ideal process for going through. And really, both matrices and sequences are very, very similar in their approach. So if you go back to your notes from the lessons, I'm sure you're able to go through and see how best to do those. And they're very similar. So coming up now, I'm going to show you the quick answer sheet. So here you go. So this is the quick answers. By all means, pause it here if you want to just mark the test paper and move on. Obviously, what I'm about to do now for test 2, for test 2 for sequences is to go through in a little bit more detail. So by all means, watch that. If you don't want to, by all means, just scrub through the video to find the next quick answer section, and you can mark your papers very rapidly in that way if that suits you. So going to the first one here, we got test 1. What we can see here very clearly is that this is a positional change. The position of the box along the line is moving each side and it's descending the box. As well as that, you could say this has also got a rotational feature because the black triangle is rotating around the outside. So if I was to do my little sketch, I want to see the box 3/4 of the way down, and then the side that's going to be shaded is the bottom side. So I'm going to do it in blue, but I should have this sort of bottom side triangle here shaded in, and that's the kind of approach. So I'm going through, I'm sketching features, and then I'm eliminating everything that's wrong. So here the triangle is wrong. Here it's not in the correct position, it's in the middle, it should be a bit lower down. C, this is correct, it's sort of 3/4 of the way down. It's also got the triangle on the bottom, I like that. Well, D is obviously wrong because 2 of the triangles are shaded. E is incorrect, it doesn't have this other line. Obviously, they've got this moving X feature, and F is too far, it's in the corner. In fact, it matches too closely to what's happening in the last shape, so it's not F either. And in that way, you eliminate all the answers and end up with a correct answer. And hopefully you can see here, this is actually a cutout. If I was to insert it in the feature, you can see it perfectly matches the sequence. So that's the kind of approach I suggest you will take. Let up the pace a little. So what we can see here is that each time the number of stripes is increasing. So we've gone from 1 to 2, so we're expecting 3. So in this feature here, that lets us eliminate a few options. This one and this one jump out at me. Also, if you think of it sort of a hammer shape, the hammer is rotating anti-clockwise. So we want the hammer to be faced vertically. And then the pattern simply goes black, then black, white. So now we want black, white, black again. And so our option of B is the correct answer. Number 3, what we have here is an interesting one. We can see that each time we're gaining a quarter of a circle. So we've gone from a quarter, well, 1/4 to 2/4. So next up, I'm expecting there to be 3/4. So that eliminates a few options for us. But what is very unusual is of the total amount of shape, half is always shaded in black. And the side that's always shaded in black is continuous. So for example, if you look, it's extending out and around. So I think that allows us to eliminate a few options. So for example, A, since these portions here have been consistently black throughout, I would expect this portion here to be consistently black, so I can remove that one. Also, since in the way that we're adding on our shapes, we've seen from here to here, the shape's not rotating anyway, so I don't like the idea in F of having an empty space in here. And actually, similarly, because we filled in this bottom right-hand corner here, I would expect on C the bottom right-hand corner to be filled in. So that makes this the answer. So E is the answer for number 3. And again, just to explain, we obviously added on this blue part here, which is this extra quarter. But why the shading? Why the black white? Because the rule is for the shading, half of the total shape is shaded in black. So you can see here that's half shaded black, half shaded black, half shaded black, half shaded black. So quite a cool little pattern there for number 3. I thought it looked quite interesting. Here, what we can see very clearly is the number of bars are increasing. So 1, 2, 3. So we're expecting there to be 4 bars. That allows us to eliminate a couple of options. I can also notice that the circle's going from black, white, so I expect there to be a white circle, so that eliminates these two. So now we're just checking between these two, and if you look here, this is now very much a rotation question, where if I was to do it like this, it's pointing that way, this way, this way, so next up, this way, and it's sort of rotating again, going around sort of, well, it's rotating clockwise, but I suppose the arrow is pointing the opposite direction. And so now I want a shape like D, which has that arrow. And notice how with this, I just pick a feature. So in this case, I've picked sort of this arrow-like protrusion, this direction, just give myself something to focus on so I can think about what direction the shape should be pointing in. So there's our answer for number 4. Number 5, you can see here, it's always 1 bar every time. It looks to me, so if I do the dotted line, seems to be rotating from corner to corner to corner. So I want my dotted line of my shape to be in this corner. And that lets me eliminate a few options. My black line seems to be rotating more than that. It seems to be rotating, so from 1, so that's actually what we'd call 135 degrees, which is quite a big jump. So rotating around, then from here to here. Yep, it's following the pattern, so it's rotating 135 degrees. So in the next, the black line is actually going to be here. If you follow that rotation round from there to there, and then from there to there, that's where the black line will be. Again, that lets me eliminate A and option D. So now we're just doing these two, so I just have to work out what's going on with the black box, or sorry, the black rectangle, and it just seems to be rotating around 90 degrees each time. So I'm expecting the black box to be up here somewhere, which if we look, eliminates option E. So you see how I did that? I did it one by one. I looked at the dotted line, then the black line, then the rectangle. That's the process. Bit by bit, use everything you discover to eliminate things, and you'll get there before long. Okay, number 6. It looks to me, so it's got horizontal, so 1, then 2, then 3. So this is an interesting one, and one that's quite hard to spot. So from here to here, it's moved forward +1 space. But from here to here, if you look, it's gone forward +2 spaces. So the thing I would expect to potentially happen next might be, I don't know, it could go back to +1, but actually since that isn't an option, if you look, none of them are +1 space. I think it probably has to be +3 spaces. So if we count round, 1, 2, 3, you can see it should be this triangle here, which is this one here, that completes the pattern. If you look, that is what we get for number 6. So number 6, that's a bit of a difficult one to spot potentially, especially if you don't notice that it jumps 2 spaces on that middle leap. If you thought it was just +1, +1, +1 each time. But then the clue would be, actually, is that there wasn't an option for that. There wasn't an option that worked, or you couldn't have had +1, +2, +1 again. There's nothing sitting in that little space there. So in that sense, it was quite nice. But yes, I think the pattern of +1, +2, +3. And just remember, this is often my tip for number. I often find number being one of the harder ones to spot. So don't be afraid to actually just write out the numbers and then very clearly see 1, 2. Well, 3 is the next pattern. It kind of jumps out to you a little bit more easily with that kind of strategy. So that's what I recommend. Okay, looking at number 7, I can see this going in reverse now. That my rectangle is getting narrower. So I'm actually, I think, expecting some kind of little box with like a bow tie shape in it, so that eliminates F and eliminates A. Also, I'm noticing that the shading inside the oval is always vertical, so that gets rid of D and B because those are both horizontal. So now I'm comparing these two, and in terms of the difference, it's actually only the direction of the little bow tie, the little 2 triangles, and I'll notice we have vertical, horizontal, vertical, so I think I want my bow ties to be shaded horizontally. That would be sort of like this, little bow ties in a box. Hopefully that's semi-clear, and I can see of the two of them, C is the one that does that. So again, that's the process, bit by bit. Number 8. Well, we've got 4 dots around the outside, 3 dots around the outside, 2 dots around the outside, so I'm guessing I want to have 1 dot around the outside. Sadly, all of them have 1 dot, and I'm not quite sure. Well, no, I can see that it's being eliminated in this pattern. If you look, it's this one that disappears, then this one, so it makes sense to me that this one is the one that goes. So actually, I think I could probably eliminate F quite confidently based on that, and also D, because I want that dot to be in the top left-hand corner. What about the number of circles? So we've got, the way I count this is, the way I do the counting is I count the white circles and the black. So I've got 1 circle, then 2 circles, then 3 circles. So now I'm expecting it to be 4 circles. So it needs to be 4 circles, but they need to be consistent. So I don't like A, the fact that it's got a strange thickness of line. So I'm not a fan of that, nor actually am I a fan of C, because then again, that's a different line thickness. So if we count B, we've got 1, 2, and 3 circles, not enough. But if we count E, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 circles. And I realise that that's only made up of 2 black lines, but I find actually just counting circles, be they white or black, is the easiest way to do this. So yeah, pretty confident that my answer then is C. Let me fill that in. It does actually look right as well. Very good. Number 9. For this one, I can see we seem to have an alternating pattern. So if I just follow the progress of the square, for example, it goes square is on position 1, then it's in position 2, so I probably want it to be in position 3. Then it's in position 4, so I think all the shapes are sort of migrating up the chain one each time. Yep, look, the triangle sort of does the same trick. It comes off one end, reappears on the other. So I think the triangle is going to be in position 2, which will mean the rectangle is in position 1, and the circle moves up 1. So again, here's my sketch. I want it to be, and well, look at that. I think, because I wasn't even looking, that sketch matches quite clearly there. So the idea with this one is each time, each of the shapes is moving up the chain 1 position, making the answer B. Number 10, I can notice that this little stalk is rotating 1 round each time, which is very good. So that stalk's going to be up in the top left position. There's always a circle in the middle, but that circle is hidden by a black square, and that black square is rotating. So top left, bottom right, is going to be top left. So there's my sketch, and actually that matches B perfectly, so I'm going to just jump straight to the answer. Again, it can be simple as that. The sketches don't have to be artistic, they just have to be really functional. Number 11. Well, it looks to me as though we've got an alternating pattern here. We've got this sort of arrow or parasol umbrella type thing alternating with, I don't know, what looks a bit like a plunger. So I'm expecting there to be a plunger again, because I think it is alternating each time. Let's try and draw it at least a little accurately. And then it looks as though the position of this diamond is rotating. So it's top left, then right, then bottom left. So I think I now want it to be down here. So bottom, in the bottom left position, because there it goes. There, yeah. So something like that. And actually, that matches quite well with B, again, just straight from the sketch. The one thing I'm supposed to note is that you're only seeing through the square the features that are there. So the fact that the reason it can't be A, for example, it's got those 2 crosses. There's a few things, quite a lot of ones you can eliminate actually for number 11. Okay, well obviously we've only got the 3 types of shading. We have it has a circle in it, a cross in it, or the horizontal lines. And what? It seems that one of the circles always has the horizontal shading, and it seems as though the circle in the middle and one of the circles is alternating. So if you look, it's either the cross in the middle or dot in the middle. So going back 1 step, I'm expecting it to be a circle with a cross in it. And then in one of the corners, we need to have the horizontal shading. Is there a pattern to that? Well, it's bottom left, bottom right, top right. So now it needs to be in top left. So this one should have my horizontal shading in because it's rotating around the outside. And that already will eliminate C, eliminates B, eliminates E, eliminates A. And so now I can just ask myself, well, actually, what's the difference between these? Oh, and it's the type of shading. And if you look, the type of shading within the semicircle, or the quarter of a circle, is rotating around. So I think I drew it unintentionally, but look there, it's rotating in that direction, always pointing towards the center of the circle, or the center of the square, which is what you get in D. Whereas look, this one's not pointing towards the center, so it's not F. That's a good question. Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Well, we're already on to the next one. So here are the quick answers for the next test, which is time test 3. So if you want to pause the video on this page and just mark your answers, by all means. Otherwise, I'm going to run through them now. So let's crack on. So for this one, what can I see? Well, I can see the number of prongs is decreasing. So if we look here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, 4. So I expect there to be 3 prongs, but the direction of the prongs is rotating. So it's pointing left, then right, then left. So I want it to be sort of a left pointing shape. So very basically looking a bit like that. But also look, if it goes thin lines, thick lines, thin lines, thick lines. So I don't want it to be like this one. And these are all in the wrong directions with the wrong numbers. So it's E is my answer, just comparing, sorry, F is my answer, just comparing E. The reason why is that thick line disqualifies E. And yeah, look, it's not quite a perfect artistic interpretation, but it does the job. It got me to the answer. So here we're gaining a quarter, and it looks as though the shading is going with the new shape. So for example, the first shape is always this horizontal shading. So I need to have in this corner down here, this shading. Then we need to have the black shape. And then I need to work out what the new one is going to be. So if this is the new piece, then the black, we can see from this one that this must obviously be the third one, which again is a different type of shading. So let's draw that in. Again, let's try and make that shading look a bit clearer. A bit like that. And that matches, if I can see correctly, yeah, that matches E. So again, the sketches there proving really useful. Number 3, well, the arrow, a bit like a pendulum, is sort of slowly moving downwards. So it's going to be between these two. So I want it to be sort of in the middle here, something like that. I notice that there's always seems to be a plus. There always seems to be some dotted lines. It's on this side, then something, then this side again, and the bottom. So I think it's alternating. So I think it alternates between the dotted lines being on the left-hand side or the bottom. So it's a turn of it being on the bottom. What's going on with the circle? So the circle started here, then moved somewhere. So I think the circle is sort of moving, migrating along this path, migrating in that way. That's what's happening to the little black circle. So it would be between here and here. So I'm guessing it'll be in sort of that position. So not quite at the tip, not quite all the way down. And then the plus is in the middle. And is it slowly moving to the right-hand side? I think that plus is perhaps slightly moving over in the center. No, I think the plus might just always be in the middle. So a bit like that. And that lets me eliminate A because of the dotted lines, B because of the circle, C looks correct to me, pretty good. D, the line's too steep, it's the same steepness as that. That's got the dotted lines again, and that's got the dotted lines on the wrong side. So that's how we eliminate them for 3. Number 4. Okay, we've gone from a triangle to a 6-sided shape, back to something to a 6-sided shape, so I'm guessing this is going to be some kind of triangle. There's no clues about whether it's pointing in a different direction, and in fact, since these are all the same, I would guess it's probably like this, but let's see if there's any more clues so far. Oh, well, definitely it's got 1 dot, 2 dots, so we want to have 3 dots inside. What about the shading? The shading seems to be the same between these two, so I'm guessing it needs to be the same as before, so it needs to be surrounded by a dot. And all the dots are inside, so that eliminates B for me, C for me, D for me, and E for me. Since none of them have got 3 sides, I'm just trying to tell between these two, and I think again this is because there's no evidence that the triangle should rotate and be pointing upwards. Of the two, I think F is more likely because I mean these are functionally identical except for the number of dots, so it makes sense that these two should be functionally identical for the number of dots. Although I suppose it does make actually sense compared to my sketch that they do the dots on the outside, just because otherwise you'd have to change the size of the dots. So yeah, I'm happy that F is more convincing to me than A because it's changed direction, suddenly pointing upwards. Number 5. Well, the square in the middle is getting smaller, so I guess I want a little teeny, it's not a square, diamond, I should say. I want a little teeny tiny diamond. Should be smaller than this one. This shading is rotating around, so bottom left, bottom right, so top left is a turn. And how is the shading done? Well, it's always done like this, not pointed towards the center. I'm just going to redo my little diamond, make it extra teeny tiny. Let's do. There you go. My small drawings have never been my forte. Well, that's definitely, and also it needs to have these cross lines. It needs to sort of having one out there, one out there, one out there, one out there. Does that let me eliminate? Well, let me see a few of them. The direction of that's wrong. The very hard if you look. So I was just looking between A and C because I can eliminate these two quite comfortably. Between these two, if you look, the thickness, and perhaps it's more clear in your booklet, the thickness is alternating. So we've got a thin line here and here, and a thicker line. Let me just exaggerate it a bit on the screen for you. We've got a thick line here and here. And of the options, if you look, A has the thicker line compared to C. That's why it's not C. Because the thickness of the diamond, thickness of the line outside, or the outside of the diamond, is what's changing. Okay, well we've got number of spikes, so no spiky bits, one spiky bit. So I presume we want at some point 2 spiky bits. So that can eliminate C for us. It looks to me it's got 1 here, then here and here, so it would make sense to me that these 2 are the spiky ones. And also if you look, we've got 1, 2, so I think we probably want to have 3 parts of the circle shaded in. So let's try and work out. So it's coming in shaded in this side, then this side, so it's sort of invading ground that way. So I think we need, let me just do a sketch. There's the circle. I want 2 spiky bits pointing that way. And I want this bit shaded in, this bit shaded in. And I think then logically this bit shaded in next, because it's kind of continuing to shade round. And then that, based on my admittedly somewhat questionable sketch, let's see if I can clean up just a little. That doesn't look like with A because the spikes are in the wrong place. Doesn't match with B because it's not got enough shaded in parts. C, it's got 3, which is too many already eliminated. D is looking pretty good. I'm not sure about E because it's shaded in from the other side. There's no evidence of it doing that. And the spikes have again turned around and no evidence of that one. So yeah, between D and E is the final choice. And I think of the two, D is the better option just because it makes sense to me that it's sort of shading in around one side. Number 7. Well, it needs to have, I can tell you right off the bat, 1, then 2, so it needs to have 3 dots, which will eliminate us. Well, and I think also 3 dots in that position. So actually, I think you can probably eliminate D and E and C based off that alone. What about the rules of the number of circles? Well, we've got 1 circle, then 2 circles. So I'm guessing we need 3 circles, and it sort of starts here. So maybe 1, 2, 3, something like that. And that will eliminate A for us because it's only got 2. And it will eliminate F because it's filled it in on the wrong side. Again, it's not continuing the pattern round. There seems to be a theme with these. So yeah, I think it needs to look like that. Now, you obviously haven't done the little outside clover shape, but hopefully you can spot how that matches with the correct answer. So the overlap is changing. If you look, it's the white behind, then white in front, white in back. So we want to have the white on front for this one. So that will eliminate D. And sadly, only D. We've also got to always have a plus, a circle, and a diamond. And sadly, there's a plus, a circle, and a diamond in all of them. So what's happening to the diamond? So the diamond is here, then here. So the diamond's rotating around, so I think we want the black diamond up the top here, in that corner. And that does estimate a few things, because actually these aren't black diamonds. Look, there's get rid of that one. And also doesn't have the black diamond at the top. So now I can actually just compare these two and watch the difference. Oh, well, that's easy to see. Look, it's either, is it the white one pointing to the left, or is the white one pointing to the right? And if you look, the white one is always in this corner, which means that B has to be incorrect as well. So there were some nice things to eliminate for us in the end. Number 9. Okay, goodness. Well, we have 2 black and 2 white always. And let's just compare these two to see what changes. So between these two, it's this bit here that's overlapping. Then if we go back to this one, what's changed is additionally these two. So I think undoing that by 1 means we're probably going to see on the bottom the white one fully overlapped, but the top one revealed. So I think the top white one should look like this. And then behind it, we should have the 2 bars, but we won't actually see, I don't believe, these 2 white ones. I think they'll be behind, like that. And that's again based on the prediction of comparing here to here, so the fact that we've only got 1 here, or 1 revealed here, to having 3 revealed here, or 3 in front here. And what's the obvious connection that links this one to this 3, where you can see how it would progress up. And there you go. That does actually compare with an answer, with the answer E, with 2 bits revealed, or 2 of the black beams revealed. Right, number 10. Looking at this one, we've got 4 white circles, then 3 black circles. So I'm guessing we need to have 2 circles, and they're probably white. I'm guessing circles are alternating black and white. So I want to have 2 white circles somewhere. We've got 1 triangle, 1 triangle, 1 triangle. So I'm guessing there always needs to be just 1 triangle. And then it goes 1 black diamond, 2 black diamonds, 4 white diamonds. So I think again, it's the colors are alternating, but the number of diamonds is increasing. So I think we need to have 4 black diamonds. So I'll say 3 black diamonds. So 1 triangle, 2 circles, and some black diamonds. And if you look, that's what we actually get in A. So it did work. We had spotted it. Well done, us. Right, number 11. It's getting more complicated, or it's getting less complicated as you go down, so it's getting more complicated in reverse. So we have 3, then 4, then 5. So this needs to have 6 colors to it. So let's do it in color, come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that count? No, don't think it does, because it needs to have more different colors. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it can't be B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've already managed to eliminate it down to half the options just by counting the number of coloured components, but actually it does also need to alternate. And I can't see here any more than 1 segment. So let me show what I mean by in D. You see how that's kind of 2 segments in a row. It almost goes black, black. Well, here it goes black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white. So I think we can eliminate D based on the fact that it goes black, white, white, black, black. So I don't like that. And then comparing C and F, it's what it seems to be starting with. And if you look, the leading edge, as it were, that's like the leading edge towards the center, is always black. So this one here in the middle being white, I think is a problem. So I think we need to have F as our answer, based on the number of segments it's made from, and the fact that it's alternating between each sort of side. If it's like a fence or something, it'd be each outside exterior part, alternating between black and white. Okay, well I can already tell we need to have 3 triangles. So triangle up, triangle down, triangle up. There always seems to me to be a black circle, but perhaps is it alternating black circle left, black circle right, black circle left, black circle right? I think that sounds good to me. And also, I should be precise in my drawings. That's going to be a dotty line following it. And then on the bottom, again, it just seems to be alternating. So I think we need to have a white circle here, along with a wavy line starting at the top, going down, up, down, up, down, up. So it starts at the top, starts at the top. So that lets us eliminate. Look, eliminate A because it starts with a triangle going down, and it shouldn't. The first triangle should always be up, so not A. B has got this swirly bit on the wrong side. C is correct, as we can see. D's got the triangles on the wrong side. E has got the dotted line and the swirly bit the wrong way around. And then comparing to F, it's got the swirly bit on the wrong side. So the white circle's the wrong direction. So that was 12. Right, guys, really good. Halfway there, doing brilliantly. Up next, the quick section for the matrices questions. So if you're ready, here they are. These are the matrices, week 4 matrices quick answers. So again, pause the video here if you'd like to just quickly mark them. Otherwise, we're going to jump straight into the explanation. So for number 17 here, this is a lovely one. We can see it's rotating around. I think the best way just to show you, look, is this. And you can see these pieces are, if you've ever made them, arrows rotating around each time. And I've made my black triangle as the arrow going forward, but you can see that really nicely. So that's definitely A. This one here, This is what I would call a composite shape. So it's a combination of the first two columns makes the third. So what's missing is this triangle, the horizontal lines, which matches perfectly with C. Watch out for those. So it's like column 1 and column 2 add together to make column 3. That's the idea behind that one. Well, I think it needs to be a pentagon. And if we look, it's sort of, is it rotating round each time? I think it is. It's going left, up, right. Then it's going left, up, right. Yeah, so I think what we've got here is each time the corner that's shaded is rotating around. So we're going to want it to be, do a little pentagon. It was that corner, so the next corner is this corner's turn here. Like that, which matches not A, not quite B, not C, not quite D as well, because it's not quite gone around far enough. Definitely not E. I think F then is your answer. Cool question. Number 4. Oh, I like these ones. So there's a few things you can do on this. First off, you may have noticed that there are 3 ovals, 3 rectangles, so there need to be 3 triangles, but also positionally, there's one on top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. So in this case, which one are we missing? Well, we're missing a triangle in the middle. And in the type of shading, we've got 3 that are shaded in black, 3 that are shaded in sort of white or nothing, and then 3 that are shaded in horizontally. So we know we were missing a horizontal shading, and that matches with F there. So again, you see, one by one, we're noticing things, we're sketching it, and we're getting to our answer. Number 5, okay, we're obviously putting the things at the top left. Well, it's alternating, so you need to look diagonally. In the middle, we first have all these sort of right angle triangles in the bottom left. Then we have a row of the small square containing ones. Then we have a row of these. So again, I want a repeat of this shape in here because it was the turn of these triangles, then the other square triangles, then the horizontal triangles, we'll call them. So I'm expecting to be a horizontal triangle in here. And that matches with drawing D. All the rest are either in the wrong position or the wrong shading. Right, it seems to be 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. So in every row, there needs to be 1, 2, and 1, 1. This is just counting the black circles, so I know I need to have somewhere in here, there needs to be one black circle. And then what about the whites? It goes 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3. So there needs to be a 3, a 2, and a 4 somewhere. So we've got a 3 and a 4, so we're missing in this one the 2. So I'm expecting there to be 1 black and 2 whites. So that's not that one. Could be that one, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. So it is B. Good. Number 7. Well, we've got 3 of these sort of pointy ovals. I don't know, I guess how to describe them. Sort of leaf shapes. We have 3 of these horn shapes. So I guess what we need is 3 of these beaker shapes. But I'm not sure about the rotation. The beaker's always got it shaded at the top. If you notice, we've got in each picture, they're pointing different directions. This one's pointing left, this one's pointing down, this one's pointing right. So they're rotating each time. Since we've got up and we've got a downward shape, I should suggest then we need to have either need to have it pointing left or right. How can we distinguish that? Well, I suppose looking here, it starts pointing at the top right, then going down it rotates to the top left, then rotates bottom. So it seems like as it's dropping each row, it's rotating 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So if we do the same rule to this one, we drop it 90 degrees clockwise, it should look like this. What I might just check is that same pattern following for this shape? Yep, look, as I drop it a row, it's rotating 90 degrees clockwise. So I think the rule is, as the shape drops down a row, obviously its position changes, but it rotates 90 degrees anti-clockwise, which is why it's option B over option D. I think they were the two closest, B and D, but there was a better reason for it being B than D, because the other features all rotate in the same direction. Okay. Number 8. We've got triangle, 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 diamond, 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 so I know for a fact I'm going to need to have a hexagon. And the shading is all vertical, all horizontal, so I think it all needs to be this kind of diagonal, which matches with E. That was a good one. Okay, looking here. I think if you look, this is another type of composite shape, but it's where this time row 1 and row 2 are kind of adding together to make row 3, but the shading is swapping. So you can see the circle and the rectangle combine, but the circle goes from white to black and the rectangle goes from black to white. So if we combine these two together, it would look a bit like this, a bit like, I don't know, some sort of little lunchboxy type crate thing. But I need the top bit to be shaded in like the bottom part was, which would be something like that. And that doesn't match A. It doesn't quite match B because the shading's in the wrong direction. Doesn't match C. Doesn't match D. Doesn't match E, but it does match F. So there you go. There's the answer. If you think again about Y, if you look, it needed to be this shape on the top, whereas that's not quite round, not quite the right way around for E. So we have swirl, 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 cloud, cloud, clouds. We want this sort of zigzag pattern here, like that. And then we needed an X in the bottom right-hand corner. So that's going to match with A. So number 10, just notice that it's primarily the same shape across every row, and across every column in the bottom right needed to have the same shape, which in this case was just a simple X. So I thought number 10 was quite a lovely question, actually, a nice one to finish on. And it just goes to show, this is a good tip, that it's always worth going through and doing the easy ones first, because the last won't always be the hardest. In fact, sometimes the first question is the hardest. So just something to be aware of now, and we'll press this more and more as the course goes on. Feel free to approach the questions in any order and just get those easy marks locked in straight away. Right, everyone, this is the last section. So this is matrices test number 2. And again, here are the quick answers. So by all means, pause it here. Otherwise, I'll go through them. And let's just go through and explain, if we can, the whys and wherefores. So I'm noticing we've got squiggle, 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 3 of them. We've got 3 T-shapes, so I know I need to have some kind of triangle somewhere. In terms of the position, the triangle isn't changing, so I think it needs to match. I'm also noticing in each of the shapes we've got black circle, black circle, black circle, white circle, white circle, white circle, so that's 3 of each. But we only have 2 of these little diamond patterns, so I think it's only fair to have a cross diamond somewhere. Now, where to put it? Is there any? It's bottom right, so I think this actually will also need to go in the bottom right, like that. And that already is enough to eliminate this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So the answer is C. It's based on spotting those 2 patterns. And again, that's just used from counting in the total picture. I'm noticing there's 3 circles, 3 squiggles, three light circles, 3 triangles, or I'm expecting there to be 3 of everything. Which is quite a nice one when that works out like that. Number 2, well, it's pointing in this direction, then this direction, so it's rotating around the outside in an anti-clockwise way, so it now needs to be in this direction. Again, I notice there's 1, 2, 3 squares. There's 1, 2, 3 circles with a cross, so I guess I'm missing a pentagon. Sorry, pentagon, hexagon, 6-sided shape. So I need to put this in there somewhere, but where to put it? When it seems to me the arrow is always pointing at the shape. In all of these examples, the arrow is pointing at the shape, so I think it needs to be, well, it can't be A, can't be C. Yeah, it's B. Because E is pointing at the wrong shape, F, the arrow is missed, and D's the arrow is in the wrong corner. Right, number 3. There's obviously a pattern going down the rows in that they're sort of the same basic shape, just the shading is changing. So I think we want to have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles. But what's changing in the shape? We had 1, 3, 2 going across the row. So 1, 3, 2. No, but that's not pattern. It's not repeated here because look, it's 1, 1, nothing. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it that these two? Ah, yes, look. This shape, sorry, we did red. This shape and this shape are shaded. And then in the final picture, these two are not. This shape and nothing from here are shaded. And then look, these two are not. So the rule for the shading is a bit of a tough one to spot this. If in any of the first two pictures that it's shaded, in the last they can't be shaded. So this one can't be shaded, 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 which means that only this circle here, which is free in both of them, can be shaded in black, and that's why it's option D. Cool question. Number 3, quite toughy. Number 4, well, it definitely needs to be a square. And it looks to me as though it's rotating around each time, but rotating around by how much? Ah, no, more so than that, because if you look, the actual shape is rotating, because look, that diamond is not the same. So actually, this is not going to be a square, it's going to be, I think, a diamond. Yeah, because if you look, that corner is pointing up, but now there's nothing pointing here. So the actual shape itself is rotating, as well as potentially the corner. So if this one goes from here, let's just say I made it very simple, I rotated it 45 degrees. So let's just do the outline for myself. So if I rotated it, oh, come back you. So if I rotated it 45 degrees, but then bear in mind that this was the black part. I should do it black. It's now gone one further down. Does that make sense? So first off, you start with the shape as it was. So it's going to look like this. But then the whole shape rotates 45 degrees, but then the black bit moves over one more. So it alternates down one. So I think that's my answer, because that incorporates 45 degrees and the fact that inside the shape it's moving another 90 degrees. So it puts it like that, which would, oh, and then finally, if I look down each column, it needs to share the same shading. So we've got dotted lines. So I'm expecting this one actually to probably be dotty as well. Because if you look down this one, they're all extra thick. Down this one, they're all thin. Down this one, presumably they would all be thick lines. So that's my sketch. So that's not A, not B. I think C is our answer. Look at that. It's pretty close. Not D, certainly not E, nor F. Well, okay, that's not so bad. Number 5 then. Again, just using my favorite counting trick, and so I would also look down the diagonals. We've got the repeating pattern, so it means I'm in my middle, I want this to repeat, so I'm looking for a crescent moon shape to start with. And then I'm noticing along the columns, these are all black, these are all shaded, so I think these are all white. And then what shape am I missing? Well, I should have a diamond, a circle, a hexagon, so I'm missing the hexagon. So it needs to be down here, a white hexagon. And that actually matches with A right off the bat, no further work needed. Number 6. Again, I'm just noticing down these diagonals, look, all these ones are black, all these ones are white, so I think all these ones are going to be the horizontal shading. And then across the row, it's all the same shape. So I'm looking for a horseshoe shape with the diagonal shading. And it's quite nice, look, 1 circle, 2 circle, 3, 1 square, 2 square, 3. So I'm expecting there to be 2 squares. And that, I think, is a pretty much perfect match for F. So the answer is F. It's always nice when a sketch works out. Number 7. This definitely looks to me like it's a composite shape, because if you look here, we've got, let's do different colours, we've got the triangle, overlapping with sort of elongated semicircle. And then the bits where they overlap changes colour. So if I was to superimpose this on top of the other shape, it would look something like this. And the bit where they overlap needs to be shaded in black. And again, that's completely acceptable to sketch. Even though it's not in the correct position, that tells me what the answer is, and I can now from that really clearly see that, look, B matches almost exactly with what I've drawn. So feel free to sketch things not necessarily in the immediately correct vicinity, if that makes it easier. Yeah, number 7, that's B. Again, composite shape where the two outside are making the centre. Last page, and you've done really well, guys. Thanks for following along. Number 8, we've got here a grid like this, almost certainly. But let's work out where the little black cube is going. So it's going 1, 2, I think I've got it, although I have to say I'm not a huge fan of this question. So if you look at this top row, you'll notice that you've got one on the top position, so one on the top, one in the middle, and one in the bottom. So I think the rule is across each row, you can't be within the same row within the shapes. Because if you look here, again, we've got one on the bottom, one in the middle, one on the top, one on the bottom. So what that means for our answer in 8, because we've already got one on the bottom, that bottom row is ruled out. Because we've got one in the middle row is ruled out. And if we now eliminate our answers, A can't be done, B can't be done, C can't be done, D can't be done, and F can't be done. So of the available options, the only correct one is E. Although what I don't particularly like about this question is I think it would be perfectly accurate, based on the information they've given us, to say that it could go in that corner. Now, obviously, because that's not one of the options, that's why the answer is E. But I think that's a bit odd. If I was going to do, I think this is based on a Latin square, and the Latin square is a bit like a Sudoku, where the idea that you can only have one in each corner, or it can't match any of the you can't have a same number or a same square in any of the rows or columns. And this was I was only using the rows. But an interesting question, number 8, and well worth learning and being aware of the fact that they can have that kind of grid pattern. And hopefully that makes sense again. So you're not allowed to have, the rule is you're not allowed to have a square in a position if in the same row it's already been in that position. So this has already used up the bottom row, this has already used up the middle row, so you had to have an answer somewhere in the top row for that shape. Okay, number 9. Well, it's obviously going to be based on one of these tier geometries, or like enlarged exclamation marks, and it seems to be rotating around each time. If I look at this one, it's going top right, then bottom right, then bottom left. So this one's going to appear in the top right somehow, like this. And then let me just think about the shading of the circle. So again, just using my good old-fashioned counting trick, I can see there are 3 black ones, 3 white ones, so I know I probably need a one with an X in the middle, so that needs to have like a time sign type jobby. And is that enough to get me an answer? Yes, it is. Look, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. D is the answer. And number 10, last question. This is a bit of a fun one. So we can see that the size of the little mountain peak is decreasing, but the type, be it a pointy one or a smooth one, is the same. So I need these two to be sort of halfway in size, also with a flat top. So the flat top actually rule eliminates that. And also, look, we got all the shading matches down each column. So we need to have it sort of shaded halfway and on the left-hand side. So for this one, shading should be like that. And that eliminates B, because look, the shading's in the wrong direction. Certainly C, certainly D. And I think between E and F, bit of a tricky one there, but I think E is just a bit too small, whereas F is just the right height. That's why we eliminate E. Right, everybody. That is the CEM nonverbal. Thank you so much for taking part. Great effort from everyone. Well done, and I will see you all next week for more. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.